presentation before lunch. So I'd like to welcome Jehan, co-founder and managing partner at Kinetic, to speak about non-fungible tokens and gaming. And then stick around, a couple of quick announcements, and we'll get you out the door for some food. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for your attention. My name is Jehan, and I am the managing partner and co-founder of Kinetic. We are an institutional platform for blockchain and crypto. For me, I think more interestingly and more importantly, I am the co-founder of Social Alpha Foundation with my wife and co-founder Jehan. Today, I know that the title of the talk is supposed to be NFTs and blockchain gaming, but I'm going to change it a little bit. I hope you'll allow me a little bit of leeway. I'm going to change it to gamifying social good. And I guess the way that I kind of want to start today is not really talking about my work at Kinetic as an investment kind of platform, but really talking about the evolution of our space and a lot of the personal journey that I've been going through, thinking about social impact and thinking about where we're going as an industry. And I think, I apologize in advance, I know this is more of a developer kind of focused conference, but I think it's very important for us to consider different narratives and different stories in this space beyond just the technology and beyond just the commercial side of blockchain and crypto. So that's kind of what today is going to be about. So first of all, I want to say that this talk really comes from a space of what we've been doing in Social Alpha. Now, Social Alpha is a grant-making foundation, and what we do at Social Alpha is we raise money from our friends who have launched their own crypto projects. We raise money from our friends who are in crypto funds, and also from very generous philanthropists who have, like us, done well in the early days of crypto and benefited from the rise in the price, who actually want to give back. So our mission at Social Alpha is really to give grants to projects that are using blockchain for social impact. And so because we've been focusing on this space for a little while, I've had the opportunity to really think about where we're going as an industry and how we can, again, move forward. Now, at Social Alpha, we've been fortunate to be sponsored and receive grants, donations in cryptocurrency from such donors as Hashed, and Icon, and others, some individual whales, and we've really been supported by the community that wants to give back. And I encourage you all to really think about this narrative as well. The idea is to really change our DNA as founders. We are all part of this generation of value creators in the same way that the internet founders had enormous impact. And our premise is that if we can help this generation of value creators to get into the habit of philanthropy and of social causes, that the net benefit over time will be much greater. Imagine if in 1995 the founders of the earliest internet companies had taken on philanthropy and taken on social impact as part of their cause and taken on this mission as much as say we consider Moon and kind of crypto price as part of our culture. Imagine if philanthropy was part of our culture. That's kind of our mission at Social Alpha. And so what we do is we raise money and we also give it out. The important things that we fund projects who are using blockchain for social impact. And I'll go through a few of those. So I've been thinking about this for a little while. In addition to the grants that the money we've raised, we've given out grants to people like Ampli. Ampli is a student sovereign ID project which gives funds to a charity in South Africa, helping undocumented children in South Africa get their first semblance of digital identity. We've also given a grant to the Social Impact Summit, which took, I think, 300 of the world's, some of the top computer science majors, and had them spend a weekend in New York at a hackathon thinking about how they could apply technology, especially blockchain technology, to social impact. So that was quite exciting. We had some great projects come out of that. We're also funding something with the Dutch government, and importantly, the UNOPS, the United Nations Operations Arm. So we're helping them to really reconsider how the UN operates and how it's funded, and also promote some of the projects that the Dutch government is thinking about related to social impact. That's going to be in New York. And we're also in collaboration now in conversation with bodies like the Rockefeller Foundation, and also New America, which is a public policy and technology think tank. So that's kind of what we're doing. This really shapes how we think about our mission in blockchain around social impact. Now, originally I was going to talk about NFTs and blockchain gaming, but as I started to write, kind of what I wanted to speak about more, I got further and further away from NFTs and further toward things that are really actually calling me and are really resonating with me, which is actually social impact. I don't know how many of you read the news as much as I do, but I might be a little bit addicted to bad news, which is a really dangerous thing these days because there's seemingly so much of it. Every time you get the paper, there's some type of controversy or some type of social inequity or social ill or disaster. And a lot of these things are actually self-inflicted damage. And it makes me think, where are we going as a society? Where are we going as a people? How are we coming up with risk mitigants? How are we coming up with actual solutions? Is our government able to kind of help us? Are our faiths able to help us? Are our kind of social structures able to help us? And it boils down to this question about why do we as a society continue to do things that we know are bad for us? So for example, does anybody here, have you ever thrown away like a plastic bottle when you know you should have recycled it? Yes? Do you eat meat? Do you kind of overuse energy? Do you consume too much? I know I do. I'll have meat for lunch today, even though I know that it's bad for me and it's bad for society, because I've lost, visibility, and I'm kind of trapped in these near-term kind of movements. So that's kind of the problem statement that I started off with thinking about it. And the answer to why we do these things is because in the absence of long-term greater good and greater narratives, we're trapped by these short-term incentives that govern our actions. So it's convenient for me that the garbage can is right next to me, so that I don't have to go all the way over to the recycling bin. It's convenient, or it's cheaper for me to eat this rather than the more expensive kind of organic or sustainable solution. Rather than doing what's right, I do what's convenient. And that's us as a society, that's me as a person. I fully cop to being guilty of this. But there has to be another way, right? And I think that as an industry, us, in terms of blockchain professionals and tokenization practitioners, finding a way to use this technology, and especially tokenization and incentivization, to change behavior is an incredible opportunity for us to really reshape who we are as an industry and how we actually impact this. And so, zooming kind of back out for a second, it's great if we build companies that succeed. It's great if we build companies that thrive. But what are we really doing at the end of the day? And this talk is really just a reminder. I don't have any magic bullets or solutions for you. All I'm trying to do is engage you in dialogue, to think about some of the issues and what the real end goal of what we're doing in the blockchain community, especially tokenization, is. So, just as a sample proposal, the thing that I'm thinking about is about tokenization specifically, and using gamification and tokens as incentivization as a way to help us do the right thing, as a way to help us maintain visibility and actually choose the right way through bounties, through negative disincentives, and that type of thing. So, one of the best examples, I don't know how many of you are from Hong Kong here, but 2 years ago, there was a really successful app called the AIA Vitality app. And AIA is an insurance company, and they released this application where basically, if you walked, I think it was 10,000 steps per day for a period of like 5 days each week, you would hit your kind of bonus targets, and every time you hit your bonus target, you would receive a free Starbucks coffee. And I don't know if you did this, but I did this almost religiously. It literally changed the way that I behaved. I would walk places when, normally I would either take the MTR. I would make the extra effort. It was remarkably effective. And of course, it wasn't a blockchain application. It was just a normal, kind of iPhone app. And so I kind of take this as an example of what can be done in this space. And again, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. We're all familiar with the ideas of tokenization and incentivization. But as we start to travel the world, when I was in India for the International Blockchain Congress, we met a group called ETHIS. And ETHIS is an international crop research for semi-arid tropics. And what they do is they work with different growers to try and get them to plant sustainable crops like red sorghum and chickpeas, which are consume less water, consume less land, and provide more healthy types of protein to the society. And in a way, they help to prevent the destruction of the environment and the overuse, and also prevents diabetes, because all of the rice that people eat in particular is quite bad for them, as opposed to some of these other proteins. And we were talking with them about different ways they can think about tokenization to incentivize growers, and to incentivize the entire supply chain to think about planting these crops instead of planting the things that the government is actually subsidizing for. I'd also started to think about, what types of tokenization is possible for recycling and reducing waste. Now again, I'm sure we've even all heard of some of these efforts to try and tokenize and create rewards for recycling, but we haven't really seen anything come to the fore yet. These are all just ideas. There's something stopping us from being able to achieve this, but it doesn't mean we should stop trying. I think that all of us in this room, as you're thinking about your own applications, as you're thinking about the technology, you should also keep in mind these end goals. Now, one of the kind of things I think which will lead us to a better place and lead us to actual effective implementation of gamification of tokenized incentives to benefit society is if you understand the mechanics of gamification a bit more. Now, I don't know how many of you were in Hong Kong about a month ago when we had the Nifty conference. Nifty was actually all about non-fungible tokens and blockchain gaming. And we had one person who was named Tom Ballage, who was the ex-co-founder, who was the CTO of Zynga, the game company which was bought out by Facebook. And he taught me two really important things about gamification and what makes a commercially successful game. One is the aspirational loop. And his example was that, like in World of Warcraft, you start off in the field beating rats with a stick and trying to level up. Meanwhile, somebody across the field has full kind of gold plate armor, and you see that, and you want that, and you want to try and work towards that, and so you work at it. And you have an aspirational loop where you're always continuously trying to get to the next level. If you're thinking about designing a token-based incentive, you have to incorporate this as a key part of your gamification in order to make sure that people stay engaged and stay, that have the desire to add value. The economy itself is the context for this aspirational loop. If there's no economy inside the aspirational loop, then what are you working for? There are other kind of key cornerstones like identity, which allows us to actually have an anchor around which to continue to accrue value. And scarcity, I think, is a concept we're all very familiar with in terms of kind of tokenized economies, in terms of how value accrues and increases. Now, in terms of the NFT relationship, I also gave a talk about a few months ago at EdCon called NFTs in the Real World. And I personally am a really firm believer that NFTs, non-fungible tokens, are actually the bridge between the physical world and the digital world. NFTs are the anchors which can take, this podium over here and give it a digital identity around which I can attach different information, meta value, which is persistent. So now if I have a blockchain address which represents a non-fungible token which represents this object, now you know how to refer to it too. Now you can actually place it, you can add meta information, you can refer to it, you can transact with it even. Now I think that the physicality of gamification is really important because we are not digital beings, we are physical beings. We actually most often interact with the physical world. And so building NFTs and being able to represent them in a digital way is what will help us make more effective games. I don't necessarily always want to interact with some type of digital object. I want to interact with a physical object, but also to have additional digital kind of value with it. Location is quite interesting too, and I don't know if you saw there's a project called FOAM, F-O-A-M, which is basically a geospatial protocol index, which allows every object in space, or every unit of space to have a blockchain-based address. So now this cubic inch, I can actually refer to it on the blockchain, and I can transact with it. And now we can both refer to this same cubic inch and have it referable. Now it exists in almost this kind of index. Time, I think, is an important aspect as well, because being able to track things over time gives us continuity, which is important for the value accrual. Competition is also quite interesting, because that's really what the gamification is. Even competing with yourself or competing with others. That ability to play the game with others and have a community aspect is something that will also drive. And then finally, having different types of monitoring techniques. In this case, I think the mobile phone is quite important. So as you're thinking about kind of some of these key focus areas in terms of incentivization and gamification, I think that building in mechanisms to create short-term bounties, short-term types of rewards are the types of things that can help us make the right decisions. If I'm too lazy or too stupid or too busy to make the right decision, maybe the idea of being able to gain my own selfishness will be what actually drives me to make the right decisions and give me visibility of the long term rather than just simply the short term. In addition, I think that the NFTs provide a really interesting kind of additional layer for perception and added value. And then finally, why don't we just do this on a database? Why do we even need a blockchain or tokenization? It's because of the interoperability of the service itself. It's the ability to scale this massively across database silos and to have one universal type of interface to play the game. So, I'm out of time, but I wanted to just really kind of issue a call to action for all of you who are developing things. Even if you spend 5 or 10 minutes just to kind of apply some thinking towards how tokenization and gamification can improve society. I would love for you to go to socialalphafoundation.org and just submit some ideas and just engage in this dialogue. Try to just push your mind away from the traditional kind of tropes and narratives that we're thinking about in blockchain and try to think about what are we really doing as an industry. Because at the end of the day, I think we have to keep the greater good in mind. Blockchain started, I think, for me, as a way to think about improving society, improving our own kind of world and our own humanity. And if we're not really in it for that, then what are we doing here? I think that we're really missing one of the greatest opportunities of our industry. It's not just about coming up with an interesting technology or revolutionary technology. It's about the outcome and our ability to continue to keep that eventual better world, that better outcome in mind. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jehan. Really important